So as the Nintendo Switch gets more and more popular, more developers are going to start developing for the Nintendo Switch. They finally realize the value the Nintendo Switch has on the market, and they're trying to capitalize on the success of the Nintendo Switch. Now, there is one company right now that is trying to bring one of their properties over to the Nintendo Switch. That is Atari. They're trying to bring back a game from the late 90s and early 2000s on the Nintendo Switch. The game I'm talking about is Roller Coaster Tycoon. Atari just announced today that they're trying to bring over Roller Coaster Tycoon series to the Nintendo Switch. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not the main Atari company. It's one of their side companies that's trying to bring the Roller Coaster Tycoon games back onto the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you don't know, Roller Coaster Tycoon is a series that came out in the late 90s and early 2000s to the PC. If you were a PC person back then, you most likely heard of Roller Coaster Tycoon. I remember way back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it seems like every one of my friends who I know who owned a PC most likely played Roller Coaster Tycoon. It seems like that was a big craze back in the day. A lot of my friends played Roller Coaster Tycoon, and it was a big buzzing game. And I remember the first time I seen Roller Coaster Tycoon, the first time I remember seeing Roller Coaster Tycoon was actually not even at a game store or anything like that. It was actually at a book fair. Believe it or not, my book fair that I had at my school actually had Roller Coaster Tycoon. Now, they had a lot of different games at my bookstore, at my book fair. They had games, most of them were tailored towards kids. They had a lot of those learning type games, but one game that really they had was Roller Coaster Tycoon, and I saw that as a kid, and I didn't know what to think of Roller Coaster Tycoon, so I had my parents buy that game for me. And when I actually started playing Roller Coaster Tycoon for the first time, I was actually blown away. Now, granted, I was pretty small back then, so of course I want to be blown away by something back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Is it still a good game? Is it a game that still holds up? Yeah, in my opinion, it's still a game that really holds up to this day, if you were to ask me. Now, they made a couple of different iterations of this game. They didn't just make one of these games. They made Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, they also made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and then they also made Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch, which came out, I think, early last year in 2017 for iOS and Android, and I didn't really care about that game, nor did I care about Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. I pretty much only cared about Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2 were pretty much the same thing. It's just that 2 was much more an upgraded version of Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. But then when they went to Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, that's when I really started losing interest in the Roller Coaster Tycoon series. Not because I was drained out of it or I put too many hours into it. It was the fact that I didn't like the engine the game ran on. Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 was a game that actually ran on a totally different engine. Instead of it being much more retro style, it was in more of a 3D type style, and I didn't like the transition when they made it to 3D. I didn't really feel like Roller Coaster Tycoon transitioned well over to 3D. That's just my opinion. And then after making those games, a couple of years ago, they did actually end up making one final Roller Coaster Tycoon game. That was Roller Coaster Tycoon World on Steam. And Roller Coaster Tycoon World was a game that didn't have very good reviews for the game. The game pretty much tanked because it was a game that was pretty much an unfinished game that was released, I think, for $30 or $40, somewhere around there. And then a lot of people backlashed the game and were saying this game is trash because it's an unfinished game, and it had a lot of problems, let me tell you. How can you release a game that's unfinished with a lot of bugs? Pretty much a game that was still in development, and then they're claiming that you're supposed to pay $30 or $40. Come on, Atari, what is this bullcrap you're pulling on us? Don't try to pull this stuff on us. Try to release an unfinished game for $30 or $40. However, going back to Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, there was one aspect of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 which I really, really loved a lot. The one aspect of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 which I loved, which wasn't in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, was the fact that you can actually play with different items. For instance, they had a whole water themed section where you can actually build like water park stuff, like you can build like pools, water slides, and things like that. So that is a pretty good aspect that they added to the Roller Coaster Tycoon games. Also, one thing I loved about Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which I didn't love much about that game, I love the fact that it had a sandbox mode, where it's pretty much like the Minecraft creative mode, where you're given unlimited money and unlimited supplies, and you can pretty much go crazy with how much you want to build with it. That's one feature I do wish, if they do make a new one for the Nintendo Switch, they actually put that on the Nintendo Switch version of Roller Coaster Tycoon, because I absolutely think that is a great idea. You don't want to be stuck playing the scenarios. The scenarios are great and all, but after you realize you run out of money, it takes you a long time to build what you want. I just love a game where you can go down, build whatever you want, and feel like it's just a fun time. Now, this game is a game that's not really a rumor. Atari did state that they're trying to bring this to the Nintendo Switch. However, there is one catch to this. It's not confirmed that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. Actually, what's happening with this Atari company, I think, like I said before, this is a not a it's a division of Atari, so it's not the main Atari. And what they're basically trying to do is they're trying to get this game on the Nintendo Switch by having investors back this game. So it's kind of like they're backing this on this site called I have it over here. They're backing this site called Start Engine. It's currently up on Start Engine. It has, I think, it says U.S. investors only, and it have 12 investors already. And it looks like it already has $8,050 backed on it. And so they're trying to get this game kickstarted kind of on this website, like I said, which is Start Engine. Not too sure what Start Engine is. Never heard of Start Engine, but as you can guess, it's kind of like Indiegogo, or it's like Kickstarter, and they're trying to raise money for this because apparently they don't have enough money to publish this game on the Nintendo Switch. And honestly, I'm not surprised. Whether you're Atari itself or whether you're a subdivision of Atari, I'm not surprised Atari doesn't have enough money to fund this game, because they're trying to also make the Atari box. And as you know, with the Atari box is a game that is a system that can't really be developed until a lot of people back that system as well. So you can see that Atari just doesn't have the same amount of money that they used to have way back in the day. They did go on to state, though, that this Roller Coaster Tycoon franchise did sell a lot of copies way back in the day. And this also would not be the first time that Roller Coaster Tycoon is on a console. If you remember way back in the day, I think way back in the PS1 and Xbox era, the original Xbox, I'm talking way back in the early 2000s, the original Xbox actually, I think, had a version of Roller Coaster Tycoon as well. And also, I think some other consoles along the way had Roller Coaster Tycoon on them. So it's no stranger that a roller coaster game would be coming to consoles. And honestly, I think this would be a very perfect fit for the Nintendo Switch because, of course, as you know, the Nintendo Switch is a hybrid console. And I think this would be a great pickup and play game on the Nintendo Switch. It just really has me worried about this particular Roller Coaster Tycoon game, just because Roller Coaster Tycoon has had a really rough, they made some really bad games in the past with this series. They made Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which I really wasn't a fan of, and then they made Roller Coaster Tycoon World, which was a disaster game. It was a game that was pretty much a big fat fail. And then they also made Roller Coaster Tycoon Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch, which was kind of iffy as well. So I'm really curious to see if this game actually comes to the Nintendo Switch. Is this going to be a game that's going to have a lot of success on the Nintendo Switch, and what is it going to do for the Atari brand and things like that? I think this game has a lot of potential, but it's just something that I'm not really too excited for. But at the same time, I am excited for it because I am a big Roller Coaster Tycoon fan. I played all the games minus Roller Coaster Tycoon World, and I loved what I played of most of the Roller Coaster Tycoon games. If they go back to some of the older styles of the game, I think I'd be a-okay with it. Even if they use some of the newer aspect or the 3D type Roller Coaster Tycoon games, kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon World or Roller Coaster Tycoon Touch, then I'll be okay with it, I think, as long as they know how to develop this right and things like that. Also, there is a video up on YouTube right now where you can see them talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's an official, like, kind of, not really like a trailer, but it's kind of them talking about how you can back this game and things like that. If you are interested in that video, I will leave a link down in the description below, and you can check out that video for yourself. Anyway, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.